I am Hafizur Rahman. After completing my Hafiz studies, I was having very good days with my family life and work. But I had almost forgotten about the darkness that descends after happiness. I was a muazzin by profession and had received Kabiraj herbal medicine training from my grandfather, acquiring quite a good knowledge. So much has been said. Now let me come to the point where I realized that my life was no longer the same. All joy and happiness seemed to be shrouded in a black shadow. It was October 9th, 2015. After the Asr prayer, a middle-aged man came to us and said, "You are a gentleman, right, Huzur? Please help my son. He is under the shadow of the devil." Hearing this suddenly, I was taken aback and asked him to calm down and tell me the whole story. He said that his son does not sleep at night, stays awake all night, talks about strange things, and repeatedly says things like, "He is coming, let him come," mostly speaking in Arabic. But he did not know how to form sentences without knowledge of Arabic characters. Additionally, he claimed that a person could be seen in several places at the same time in his house. His work has decreased, his business has no income, and there are ongoing family illnesses and various other problems. While listening to this, the time for Maghrib prayer arrived. Before going to give the call to prayer, I told him that I would visit his house after Maghrib. He was pleased and offered to pray with me. By then, it was evening. I finished my prayers and the work on my hands, and I met that man. His name was Shahid. After leaving the mosque, it took about 25 minutes to reach his house. As I arrived in front of his house, I felt an immense restlessness. It seemed to me that perhaps I would not be able to do the work I had come to do, and I felt that I was about to be deceived significantly. This had happened many times before, but trusting in myself, I entered Shahid's room. After finishing the meal, I entered his son's room. Upon seeing me, his son smiled faintly and asked, "Do you know how many numbers?" When I asked for the meaning, Shahid told me that 6 other Hazurs had come to treat his son before me. But after meeting the boy, no one was willing to work again. When they were called, they would apologize, saying that the work was beyond their capacity. Without thinking much, I asked the boy his name. He, somewhat indifferent, said in a faint voice, "I have many names. I am known by various names throughout the ages." I said, "Yes, but you know me." I did not understand the meaning of those words at all. Without prolonging the conversation, I started reciting the Ruqya verses. As soon as I began to recite, the boy grabbed my hand and said, "Huzur, do not recite the verses. Stop here." At first, I thought the boy might be acting after watching some supernatural movies. But he somehow understood that I was reciting the verses in my mind. There was no fear of that devil. When I started reciting the verses again, the boy said, "Huzur, if you want, you can join our group. You know how? Stop sweeping for a week. The devil is a being that does not sleep, always awake. If you stop sleeping for just a week, you will become one of us." I, saying Astaghfirullah, held the boy's finger tightly and began reciting the Ruqya verses. Suddenly, he came close to my ear and bit my ear. I let go of him in pain and went out of the room to ask his father. I inquired when this situation began. He told me he had been observing it for about 4 months. After bidding farewell, I left his house. Walking down the street, I suddenly saw a snake crossing my path. The dark street was full of potholes. At any moment, I could have stumbled. But I did not let my foot get caught on anything. As I came to the illuminated street, the snake glanced at me and, without raising its head, went somewhere. That night, after finishing my prayers, I returned home. While sitting down to eat, I received a call from my village. Upon answering the phone, I learned that an hour and a half ago, a fire broke out in the barn at my village home, and my cows died. As soon as I hung up, I heard my son's voice at my door. When I opened the door, I saw him standing with someone's help. When I asked what had happened, he said that about an hour ago, while walking home, a motorcycle lost control and hit him from behind, running over his foot. What do you think? A coincidence? It would have been good if it were just a coincidence. In reality, these were warning signs for me not to get involved in Shahid's son's matter. Otherwise, something worse could happen. As someone wanted to end me, I realized this work was of the devil that hides among people and harms them. I did not let anyone in my family understand this matter. I became eager to take revenge on that devil. But you know, this fight is no ordinary fight. It is a battle against a force that cannot be seen or touched. Most of the time, our arrogance loses us these battles. One must stay within their limits. Going beyond that was my grave mistake. I was not a proper Kabiraj either. I had no formal education. I had acquired basic knowledge from my grandfather and learned the rest through reading and working. That was all. But by the grace of Allah, I had been successful in my endeavors, and I had forgotten that I was not an all-knowing person. Arrogance had crept into me. I had to take revenge. This arrogance had led me to where I am now. Listen carefully. That night, I established contact with a jinn under the care of my grandfather. He informed me that this problem would escalate significantly if I viewed it as a personal grievance. He warned me, but I refused to accept it. The next evening, I took all my belongings and went to Shahid's house. Upon entering Shahid's son's room, I did not speak to him. He kept trying to confuse and provoke me with various statements. At one point, he fell silent and slowly came close to my ear and whispered, "If you wanted, I could have shown your son the path to hell. I warned you. If you come to fight, you must know your opponent. He said several such things, trying to break my patience. I grabbed his throat and asked who he was, what he wanted, why he had attacked my family, and why he had taken Shahid's son under his control. I noticed that Shahid's son had turned red, as if he had been beside someone. Suddenly, a storm began, and the house started swaying. I released his throat and began to recite the verses. At one point, the boy fell to the floor. He began to curse me in various ways, saying how he would kill me and what he would do to my family. At that moment, Shahid came into the room. He held my mouth from behind and said, "I brought you here to heal my son, not to kill him." I was astonished. When I tried to make Shahid understand, he did not want to listen and told me to leave the house. As I was packing my belongings, I left his house. As I was leaving, Shahid's son told me that I would see the result of today's work. As I was leaving, Shahid called me from behind several times, but I did not respond. I was internally furious. I successfully executed all these tasks, yet I was told to leave in such a manner. This arrogance had sunk me. After that, Shahid called me many times, but I never answered his calls. With that, Hafizur Rahman stopped because there was a knock at his room door. As someone opened the door, an elderly Huzur entered his room. He wanted to know how he was connected to Hafizur Rahman's life. Stay tuned. After the new person entered the room, he was served tea and water. I also said to my friend that I was coming and left the Huzur's house, going downstairs to a tea shop. While having tea and smoking a cigarette, we discussed the stories the Huzur had told. After finishing our tea and cigarettes, we went to Hafizur Sahab's house. He began to tell his life story again, saying that since that day, life had not been normal. I will tell you some incidents that gradually drove me insane. Once, in scorching heat, I used to sleep on the balcony of my house, which was on the upper floor, so nobody could see me from outside. That day, after performing the Asr prayer, I was lying on the balcony. With half-closed eyes, my wife, who was a distant relative, came to help with the work. Her name was Marzia, and we called her Marzia Appa. While I was in a drowsy state on the balcony, Marzia Appa and my wife came in, cleaned my room, and talking, they left. After a while, my wife came into my room and asked me to come inside from the balcony. I closed the balcony door and came into the room. To describe my room, as soon as I entered, to the left was our bed. In front, there was a study table and a Thai glass window. The balcony could be seen through the window, meaning the balcony door was on the right side of the window. After entering my room and closing the door, I was talking to my wife when someone called, "Baijan," from the balcony. I moved the curtain aside to see Marzia Appa with an ugly smile, saying, "I have come to work. Open the door. It has been a long time since we met, my wife and I." seemed to have lost our ability to speak in fear. How could a whole person come through the balcony grill in the middle of the day? I was so terrified that my voice could not come out, and I felt like I was suffocating. In front of both our eyes, he stepped through our door, making my wife scream and lose consciousness. And I stood there, staring like a mental patient. The astonishing thing was that despite my wife screaming so loudly, none of my children came to help us. With great difficulty, I tried to recall all my known remedies. I closed my eyes and began to think that I was a Kabaraj. I had defeated many devils, so why should I be afraid? But now I understand that due to my arrogance, I had been forgetting to call Allah, so perhaps I was being punished for it. ... When I opened my eyes, everything seemed normal. My wife was still lying on the floor. After a fierce struggle with myself, I got up from the floor and revived my wife's consciousness. I went out of the room to call my son and daughter and ask them if they had not heard their mother's scream. If they had heard, why did they not come? My son told me that he and his sister were coming into my room after hearing the scream. But in the dining room, I had supposedly told them that their mother had been scared by an insect, which is why she screamed. Hearing this, I felt as if I had fallen from the sky. I was in the room, but who was with my children? A couple of days later, I was going to the mosque for the Fajr prayer. It was pitch dark, and there was no electricity. As I stepped out of the house, a man covered in a shawl with a hurricane lamp approached me and said, "Come, Huzur, let us go to the mosque." I was astonished to see someone walking on the road with a hurricane lamp in this era. I asked him who he was, but he did not answer. Upon arriving at the mosque, he told me, "Huzur, you did not recognize me? I helped you because on the dark path, if you went to give the call to prayer, you would have faced danger today. And if you had come to the mosque after that danger, Allah would have forgiven your sins. Because people do not call upon Allah without reason. They call upon Him only in times of trouble. If your sins are forgiven, I will kill you. That is why I brought you here," he said, and then he quietly walked away. I realized that someone was trying to harm me again by distancing me from Allah. I felt as if I was getting trapped in a maze. One night, before going to sleep, I had the habit of eating dinner in my dining room. That day, my wife did not bring me food in the dining room, but came to my room to serve it. I was slowly eating my meal, having left my plate on the chair, and after drinking water, I sat on the bed to wash my hands. At that moment, my wife came into my room and screamed as she left. A few seconds later, my son came and asked if I had eaten everything. Suddenly, my eyes fell on my food plate, which contained parts of fish and chicken that no human could eat. My food was rotten blood. I wanted to vomit. When I looked up, I saw my wife standing behind my son, smiling. I realized that my wife had fallen under the control of a devil. That day, I told everything to my son and said that his mother needed Rukia urgently. Initially, my son was reluctant, but he could not deny the evidence I provided, so he agreed. I went to the mosque to get my necessary items, leaving my son at home. When I returned home that day, what I saw was a sight no sane person would want to witness. I found my son lying unconscious in a corner of the room, while my wife was tied to the bed. I also saw that I was performing ruqya on my wife, but not a single word of Arabic was coming out of my mouth. While striking, I could see that the devil was extracting blood from my wife's body. Suddenly, when the devil saw me, he grinned and rushed towards me. After that, I do not remember anything. When I regained consciousness, I saw my son glaring at me in immense anger, sitting beside his mother. My son left the room and sent his sister into the room. My daughter was bandaging my wife's body. My wife, seeing me, was sobbing profusely. I called my son and explained everything, saying that the person who was there was not me. He did not want to understand. Then, I took him to the mosque and asked a caretaker to confirm whether I had been at the mosque a little while ago. The caretaker said, "Brother, you were just here, and you left saying you would come back after killing your wife, and now you are asking where you were a little earlier." Both my son and I understood that someone had taken my form to ruin my reputation and wished to end me. After that, I felt ashamed and stopped going to the mosque. I thought, what will my family understand? People will not understand that I am innocent. Gradually, I was slipping into darkness. I could not remember anything. My hair was falling out, my teeth were turning black and falling, and the skin on my lips was peeling off and turning white. Finally, a night came after which I have no memory for many days. All I remember is that after midnight, I was lying on my bed while my wife was staying at my father-in-law's house due to his passing away. I was lying in bed. At that moment, I heard a sound from under my bed. In my house, there was one room where I was alone, and in 2 other rooms were my son and daughter. Suddenly, I heard footsteps climbing the stairs outside, and the sound stopped right in front of my house door. The wind seemed to whisper in my ear, "That way, that way, that way." Suddenly, I felt a chilling cold, and when I went to the balcony, I saw 2 eyes shimmering in the pitch-black darkness. I was frightened and hurried back to my room. Even when I turned on the lights, they did not work. Suddenly, I felt something like a tunnel path. Inside that, I felt like I had fallen. I screamed, and it seemed I lost consciousness. Saying just this, Hafiz Sahib stopped and said that he would tell the rest of the incident. His son Jubair starts. That night, hearing my father's scream, I went to my father's room with my sister and saw the door was locked. But neither my mother nor my father ever sleeps with the door locked. I was surprised With the help of neighbors from the next house, I broke the lock on the door. Upon entering, I saw my father lying in a strange position, his hands and feet all contorted in bizarre ways, his mouth open with a grotesque smile, and the pupils of his eyes seemed darker and larger than before. His face had turned pale. Suddenly, my father's pupils turned towards us, and he started to laugh slowly with a strange sound. Seeing this, everyone who had come to help fled in fear. I then called my father's friend, Uncle Yasser, who had studied Hafizi with my father and had returned from higher studies in India. He is a well-known spiritual healer who had traveled far and wide to gain knowledge. The person who just entered your presence is Uncle Yasser. He will tell you what actually happened to my father. Have any of you read about the sleep deprivation experiments conducted by Russia on 5 prisoners? Due to not sleeping for a specified number of days, they ended up eating each other's hands and feet. The last person who was taken for treatment became extremely violent, repeatedly claiming that they were above pain and suffering, and he claimed to have seen the devil and became the devil himself. Jaber said that his father, Hafiz, told everything. When I heard that the son of the martyr brother had told the boy to prevent Hafiz from sleeping, I realized that the boy had indeed encouraged Hafiz to join the devil. But who would willingly undergo such an experiment? However, there might be enmity. Otherwise, why would the devil residing in the son of the martyr brother say such things? Throughout history, people have begun to think of themselves as men after achieving success, forgetting the Creator. And the Creator shows their downfall, demonstrating what happens to those who do not express gratitude. The Creator is always present, and sometimes He establishes signs to remind us, like perhaps indicating here that if a Hafiz of the Quran and a healer who is very knowledgeable can be captured by the devil, then what might happen to those of us who do not obey the commands of the Creator? Whatever it is, perhaps this is what happened to Hafiz. There are many healers who boast about their success and forget that everything happens by the will of Allah, and we are merely a means. Hafiz had once told Jubair proudly about an incident where he had claimed that the Creator would not save the devil today. Then he supposedly tried to bottle that jinn, but he could not. A jinn had helped him in that effort. That jinn became a companion of the devil and turned into a devil himself. How do we know this? After Hafiz recovered, he himself told us that this was the devil who had once been his helper, whose name Hafiz does not remember and cannot remember, because you will find out a bit later. That misguided devil then began to act, preparing to harm those servants who fight against the Devi's power, quietly removing those who could help others escape the devil's deception. In that sense, he started the work of removing his old friend, Hafizur Rahman. The son of the martyr brother is merely a means to this end. To learn the rest, that day I performed ruqyah on Hafiz Sahib while reciting verses, causing him discomfort. At one point, he disclosed that he had supposedly conveyed Hafiz's words to the martyr brother through the devil's son, having spent a long time together so that Hafiz would not recognize him, which is why he resorted to this deception. That night, there was always a snake in front of Hafiz. That snake was supposedly the very devil, to prevent Hafiz from falling on the road and from Allah escaping from his mouth due to pain. The devil did not let Hafiz encounter any danger that day. How cunning and deceptive the devil is. That night, we called the martyr brother, and he said that Hafiz had suddenly left the room while performing ruqya on his son and never returned. Even when called, he did not answer. After Hafiz left, the martyr brother's son had reportedly recovered. So to express his gratitude, the martyr brother tried calling Hafiz several times. But what Hafiz said was that the martyr brother had told him to leave the room. This means that this devil can assume any form very skillfully and can confuse anyone. After learning everything, I realized that it will be difficult to get rid of him because he knows Hafiz very well. 2 days later, I start my work. I had 2 knowledgeable individuals with me in this task. After performing the Maghrib prayer, we entered Hafiz's room without saying a word and began reciting verses. While reciting the verses, I started removing some things from Hafiz's body, and suddenly he began to expel something foul. Suddenly, stopping all movement, he exclaimed, "Impossible! Even if you kill me, I will not let him go." Suddenly, I realized that I was not performing ruqya on Hafiz. On the bed was Hafiz's son, Jubair, writhing in pain. We 3 untied his hands. He pushed us away and left the room. Once outside, we saw Jubair sitting on the sofa. Upon seeing us, he asked, "Hujur, is the work done? How is my father?" I had never seen such a devil in my life, and I could not understand how he was deceiving us. Hafiz, or where we were, the 3 of us, along with Jubair, went to search for Hafiz. Remarkably, we found Hafiz bound in his own bed in his room. I realize that this devil species is Silat. They deceive by mimicking human faces. After restoring Hafiz's mind, I wanted to learn the name of that devil from him. But Hafiz looked at me blankly, like a mental patient. I thought that if I could find out the name, perhaps I could easily overpower the devil. I could not manage to do that. Saying just this, Yasir Hajur and Jubair took us outside, leaving Hafiz Sahib inside the room. Yasir Hajur told us, "Do you know that Hafiz had 2 daughters?" On the night when he was being given ruqya, when I asked for the name of the devil, Hafiz told me nothing. But Hafiz was not in the grip of the devil at that time. He was in a state of shock, and this devil can take any form and deceive us. Seeing Jubair in his grip, Hafiz's daughter could also deceive us by showing her grip, so we could not understand whose body this devil was actually in. But suddenly, what happened changed all our assumptions. Suddenly, a loud laugh echoed from Hafiz's elder daughter's room, and a harsh voice came from the room saying, "I am leaving, but I am taking the girl with me. I have lived in this girl's body all this time, and no one could even realize that you will all die weekly. I will come back to Hafiz every day. I will stay in Hafiz's head, and I will not let him suffer and say Allah. If he forgets Allah, then I will beat him. I promise I will keep him under my control. You will not know anything about me. You will not even know my name. I will not let him speak. Hafiz will have my stick on his head." Now do you understand why Hafiz cannot tell us the name of this devil? After Hafiz's daughter said all this, everything became silent. We went to Hafiz's elder daughter's room and saw numerous black magic drawings on the walls. Since her mother was not home, the men of the house never went into her room. This means it was an ideal prey for the devil. Marzia Appa also did not go to her room because the girl supposedly tidied and cleaned her room herself. Hafiz still cannot remember anything about his elder daughter. He does not even know that actually there was someone who was the devil and was carrying on the conversation. In the grief of his daughter, Allah does not come out. He does not recall his daughter. She's been shown to many doctors, but everyone has said that nothing should be forced upon her. Otherwise, she would be harmed. Her prayer account remains, and Jubair tells her when it's prayer time. He's a Hafiz of the Quran, but cannot recite a single surah. Perhaps the punishment of arrogance is being faced by his daughter too, and she has not returned. Even if she comes back, when will she come? No one knows. For the sake of disgrace, everyone has been told that the girl has gotten married. Meanwhile, the locals have been discussing him because that news of domestic violence, the devil has proudly claimed to have beaten his wife to ruin his name. That is why Jubair does not even go out to pray with his father, fearing someone might mention that incident or ask about his daughter. How life changes because of this. I, the Imam of this mosque, Jubair, told you to speak with a few individuals to understand what kind of person Hafiz is. To know that, I asked someone who already knows him. And if you want to speak to someone, Hafiz is not well. No one knows where his daughter is. You all must pray for Hafiz and his daughter. I have been observing everything from the beginning. What else can I do except pray? As soon as Yasir Hujr finished speaking, Jubair brought us downstairs with teary eyes, speaking in a sobbing voice about his elder sister. He remembers her a lot and suffers about where she is and how she is. No one knows. Jubair brother asked me to share this incident with everyone so that we do not succumb to arrogance and forget the Creator. May we not change ourselves. Perhaps his father is paying the price for all these mistakes today, along with his entire family. Nobody knows where this incident will ultimately lead. After this, I also wanted to verify this incident with an elderly caretaker of the mosque thinking that since he is very old, he might be able to tell. He said that Hafiz Sahib was very cheerful and a very good person. Something very bad happened to him, which is why he struck his wife. However, let it be said that the devil came in the form of Hafiz Sahib and spread the news that Hafiz Sahib had struck his wife, which is why many people speak about Hafiz Sahib. He no longer calls the adhan, does not lead prayers in the mosque, and many people say he is a sinner. But those who know him well do not speak ill of him. Dear listeners, what do you think? Will Hafiz Sahib's daughter ever return? The message that Hafiz Sahib's family has given us through this incident is that we should not forget the Creator in arrogance. May the Creator guide everyone. Ameen. Thank you very much, Sabit, for your incident. I hope everyone liked the story, and I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, we want such wonderful stories from you, and for that, you have to email us at our email address, mrghost1159@gmail.com. Please send your life stories to